the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good afternoon, guys, and welcome to episode 244 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. Today, we're going to be talking with Jorge Suarez. He's a hydrologist and owner of Geohydro here in Costa Rica. He's a specialist in water, in ways in getting legal water, of course, here in Costa Rica, which can be a quagmire of bureaucracy and just understanding kind of what works and not. And now he's kind of more moving into using drones and lasers to create master plans and elevation studies on properties and just kind of finding the waterways. We've used him a bunch of times, so I thought I'd get him on here. Just kind of be covering a few topics about water and also kind of master plans and things that you just kind of need to understand. As again, a lot of land is sold without water. And I think if you don't know what you're doing, just be very cautious, guys. I usually say that people do not buy land that does not have water from an ASADA or AIA or a registered concession already on it. And even then do some due diligence as well, guys, because I looked at a piece of land a while back. It was absolutely beautiful. I did due diligence. I couldn't build anywhere on it because there were protection zones from other nacientes springs in those areas. So yeah, you just need to be very, very careful. Remember, guys, actually, we're about to kick off a new investment we have up in Arenal. 6 luxury villas across a ridgeline there, guys. Stunning views. We're actually building another 5-bedroom at the moment in plans to build another 3. Just Arenal continues to call us on the data, guys. And with our connections kind of within tourism, our cash flow of these investments looks very, very good. So we'll be kicking off the first couple, guys. There's an opportunity here to get in very, very kind of at the ground level. At a very affordable investment, I would say, amount. So you can email us if interested, info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. So they were kind of like 4-bedroom Bali Costa Rican style properties on kind of a ridgeline with a river down below. And we're also going to be doing some kind of permacultural work and reforestation, as a lot of it was actually cut down for basically cattle. So that's kind of a nice thing, but just stunning views over the plains and also the volcano. So again, if interested, info@investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good afternoon, Jorge. How are you doing?
Hola, pura vida. Thank you. Thank you for having me on your show.
Not at all, man. It's great to have you back on here, Jorge. And I know you're a wealth of knowledge. We work together on many things. So it's always great to get you on here, kind of share your experience and also your knowledge with people out there. As I know a lot of people buying land in Costa Rica need to understand waterways and water rights, etc., and also how technology is kind of changing, the landscape of developing in Costa Rica. But Jorge, my first question for you is, which I just like to get an idea of what you're seeing happening in the market. There's a lot of volatility, in Western markets. It's definitely having an impact in Costa Rica. But as your volume of work, would you say it's slowed down this past couple of months? Has it sped up? Like, what are you seeing?
No, actually, the volume of work has been increasing. Well, not really increasing, but it's stabilized. The foreign investment, we have been making services for groundwater is very important because there is a big issue in Costa Rica about water resources and water potability. So therefore, the water business is still going ahead full steam because we had the investors from before that want to push forward with their buildings, and also the new investors that are looking forward to escape from Europe or United States with these crazy political things that find Costa Rica a nice place to have maybe a second home or to move over here for vacations, investment. Costa Rica is a relatively very secure and safe country for Central America. And looking at the world, I would say that for the world, we are very safe right now.
Definitely. Well, it's good to hear that your volume of work is not going down. Again, I need you to do some work for me, and you can't do it until the end of April at the moment. And I think it's a weekend. So good for you, Jorge. I know that there are some I think realtors are definitely seeing a slowdown, and I think we're going to start to see that impact. We already are in pricing. We're definitely going to start to see it in the latter part of the year as well. And I think lawyers are definitely seeing it. So realtors see it first on inquiries, then lawyers see it. But again, as you mentioned there, I think you've had a lot of clients that have now decided to kind of move ahead with their projects and kind of, using your services. But
we also have a special seasoning part of our job because during the dry season
Yep.
is when we must go to the field, go to Guanacaste where the dry season is, and measure the lowest quantity of water that are
Okay.
available in the water springs or in the aquifers. So it is a very special time for us. Dry
Sure.
season is very hectic.
Yeah, I know whenever you get a concession, usually on a creek or a river or any kind of water source, it's usually, again, during this time of year that Manai is coming out and checking to see whether there's actually water during that time of year to give you the concession.
Exactly, exactly.
So,
That's the point. Mhm.
question for you, Jorge. Should someone buy land without legal water?
Yes, of course. Why not? Sure. If you have a good team of specialists that can, guide you in the way of telling you by making a good due diligence, will you be able to have water in the property? Yes or no in the future? Because if you want to spend like a couple of millions of dollars just in one property, and there is actually no aquifer underneath to make to drill a well, or there is no water springs, or you are located in Guanacaste where half of the years is dry, and then it will be a very bad idea. But if you have a good opportunity with a good price, and we can make a study, a diagnosis, or somebody else and make an analysis, if there will be possibilities to drill a well or to have a water concession from the creek or from the spring, and then you will give it that value to the property that further on will pay a lot. So yeah, yeah, of course, you can buy properties without water, but have to make sure to do all the studies, your due diligence first.
Yeah, I mean, look, because I mean, a lot of realtors are just going to tell you again, like, yeah, no, it's easy. You can get water very easy. I mean, even if there's an ASADA with water out the front of the property, it doesn't mean that you can connect to that ASADA, of course, because of the water availability. So, or the AA, like you just need to be very careful there. But like, I mean, Jorge, you could buy a piece of land that has a creek or water running on it. But if someone's buying during wet season, how do you know that there's going to be enough water there during low season in order to be at the concession? Or if there's an aquifer, whether you can actually get to water? Because the only reason I say that, Jorge, was, I recently purchased a small piece of land in Arenal. And when we looked at all the studies and everything, we were like, no, at 10 meters, there's water, right?
Yeah,
And we went down 10 meters by hand and there was no water, dude. Like we hit rock. And then we were
yeah,
like, well, I wonder what, and then we went down 40 meters and still didn't find anything. Like it was sand.
yeah.
So my question here, Jorge, is like someone could be buying a piece of land. It could look that like there's water in the area, but like they also need to understand that even if you say, yes, there's water at 10 meters, there's still risk and it's not 100% guaranteed.
Yes, yes, definitely. And it has happened before, and it has happened to us that we are making all these studies. But the hydrogeology, if we do not do a penetration on the ground, like for real, then we will not definitely know about the results. That's the tricky part about looking at something that is not visible. And we must work with information about other wells in the surroundings to know the area, the context of the landscape. We fly our drones, we make everything, that's possible. But even so, we have this risk that can happen as it happens before.
Yeah.
The idea is to manage that risk and to minimize it to the most possible part. In that case, we had some information that, as you say, like two properties away, it was a 10-meter water level from the wells. And in the end, the specific part in the property, we didn't reach it at that level.
Yep.
Probably if we could keep drilling and drilling further, like 60, 40 meters more, then we will have find a deeper aquifer. But in that case, we were looking for an artisanal well that only uses shallow
Yeah.
aquifers because it's mostly 20 meters depth. So there is, yeah, that part that can be
Well,
risky.
I think one thing to de-risk a project, of course, or de-risk purchases, we've done it before, but it depends on how much your investment is. We'll dig a well or drill a well as part of the due diligence. Like we'll do that. We'll wait to close until that's done to make sure we have water, because
Hmm.
sometimes it's better to be out, I mean, an artisanal well, maybe like $9,000, or, a drilled well, $30,000, if it's $1 million investment or even $500,000 investment, because it's like you could be out, like you could, and I say this just because we did it once in Cabuya, over by my Malpais and Santa Teresa,
Hmm.
where you could end up with a $500,000 ocean view cattle land, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
because it has no water.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's a big problem. That's the also the ideas when you buy like $2 million property from the ocean, you want to develop and have something special there. But sometimes even when we do drill the well or the specifics, we can find that there will be very few water, not enough for the big project that they were imagined that they were going to get millions back. But what happens is that there is enough water, but for more smaller projects for
Yep.
a couple of houses, a boutique hotel. So now we are doing that. We are talking to the developers and also offering about master plan ideas because many people want to come here and do very nice stuff, but sometimes you have to keep it simple and have to keep it like more luxury or something more that you
Yep.
will get the value, but for something smaller, more Costa Rica style, more ecological in a sense way. I don't know. Yeah, it's something that the water even when we have the well with the water, sometimes it's not going to be enough. So yeah, we have to do remastering and stuff.
Jorge, I mean, look, concessions on like, as you said there, I mean, on a creek, say, you know, a river is different because usually a river runs all year round, but a creek you don't know. So, I mean, if someone's buying in September and October and they're going to
Mhm.
get a concession on the creek, how can you be sure that again there's going to be water when Minai turns up in order to do the test?
Yeah, no, that's not possible. We have to wait until dry season. We can do analysis previously because we know we are in Costa Rica and we know how the seasons are and which part of Costa Rica will have dry season. Like for example, in Guanacaste in the north, but for example, in the south in Osa is just about 1 month of no rain. So, but with climate change, this is changing,
Yep.
but still there is more possibilities. And the Caribbean side, it rains a lot, but it's now also getting lack of rain. So climate change is changing a bit, but we still know the time and the rhythms of the climate in Costa Rica. So for instance, for example, I mean, there was one project in Tamarindo where they wanted to hire us to make a water concession from the water spring. And I told them right away, no, but in Guanacaste, all the springs die during the dry season. It's
Yep.
not possible. And they wanted to build a hotel and everything. I told them, no, it's not possible. And they fought to me because somebody told them that, of course, you can do the water concession. I say, no, without even going to the site, without taking my GPS or the drones or measuring the instruments, we knew that that was not possible. So yeah, if you are buying during the rainy season, still it's very good to know about the neighbors, ask to them, ask your professionals, and yeah, it's quite tricky. It's difficult to know.
What's the easiest way to get a legal water source in Costa Rica, and what's the most difficult?
Okay, let's start with the most difficult. Is the newest. Is desalination plants.
Yep.
So, like if you know, in the desert, there are huge cities growing up in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Abu Dhabi, and all these places, and they do desalination because there are no well, there are aquifers, but they are mostly overpumped because of these cities, so they had to change to desalination. So now in Costa Rica, it is possible to have your own desalination plant. For example, there are some big developments like Pinilla and others
Reserva
in
Cochal.
Guanacaste.
Yep.
Hochal, exactly, that are looking for. It costs a big investment, but it's the only way because right now the pressure on water, especially in places where the dry season is very hits very hard, like in Guanacaste, is where you get the most tourism, and now the aquifers are, getting overpumped.
Yep.
So desalination is a good option, but still it's very hard because you have to go through environmental license, master plans, and dirección de aguas, minas, and that. So it's very complicated. But of course, it's for a bigger project.
Yep.
Actually, we should use that desalination for municipal uses. For example, in
I agree.
Tamarindo,
Yep.
no, not only private investors should do that. I think government should start doing desalination to keep the development and the rhythms of the touristic attractions of nature in Guanacaste and other places there where it's needed.
And
And
yeah, going to the next other types because I mean I think you went desalination, which I think it's like yeah a couple of $1 million at least just to get started.
yeah, but then we have the medium-sized investments. I would say maybe drilling wells for condominiums.
Yep.
Condominiums have a very specific code for drilling the wells by the water department of MINAE, the environmental institutions that runs the water management. It takes about 2 years sometimes because you have to go again and get permissions for the condominium and also for the water and you
Yep.
have to match out and everything. So it's very complicated. And then the lower, less complicated will be private water spring concessions or creek
Yep.
river concessions, because there you don't have to wait for the drilling permit and all the reports for drilling, but only from the river. You analyze the river, as you said, if it does it have water during the dry season, how much water does it have, water quality, coordinates, and many other specifics, but it's more simpler. And the simplest of all is for one single house construction permit. That is with the Article 8 from the water law that says that every property should be able to drill their own artisanal well by hand, and then they could have water for the house and some little garden or your pets or something like that, because this law of water law in Costa Rica is very old, from the 46, 1946. And so it's still there. And the president of Costa Rica, he say, okay, no, we don't want to have any more water concessions that took about 1 year, year and a half,
Yep.
just to get your artisanal well for one single house. So they say now it's going to be up to the municipalities. But the trick is that there are 84 municipalities in Costa Rica, and each municipality has their own construction code. So we have to ask each municipality if they are willing to give the construction permits according to the artisanal well.
So,
So yeah, in
like,
Costa Rica, nothing is very simple.
well, like, I built a well in San Jose, which is Dota. Dota accepts artisanal wells. OSA does not accept artisanal wells, correct?
Exactly, correct.
So yeah, I mean, it's very weird. And again, and I think that's why is like Costa Rica is beautiful, but it can be complicated. And someone can tell you can dig a well, but like, again, each municipality changes constantly as well. I mean, I'm on that Arenal property, Jorge. I'm now doing cosecho de agua, de lluvia. So now I'm doing like rain collection, because in La Fortuna, it rains a lot. So I just got approval from Minai. So I'm just waiting for the legal stuff now, and then I'm going to go straight into San Carlos, and they do accept it.
Wow, that's very new.
So yeah,
congratulations. Very
no,
nice.
no worries. Hey, you know me, Jorge. I'll find a way to do something. It's you.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, again, let's talk land subdivision. Like, just going back to the original point, the easiest one is an artisanal. Then it sounds like it's concessions on springs or rivers, but you also need to understand that there's setbacks with that as well. And then you kind of start to move up from that, from perforated wells, which is drilling wells, to then, as you mentioned, their desalination plants, etc.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
pretty much it.
Depends how big your project is, I suppose. If you want to subdivide land, Jorge, because a lot of people have been asking me about, hey, Rich, I want to buy a piece of land and subdivide it. And I'm like, guys, like, do you really want to do that in Costa Rica? Because there's tons of risk with that. But if there's no ASADA or the AIA, what are your options? Meaning, like, the ASADA or the AIA would have to give you a segregation letter where they would say, yes, we'll give you the ability to segregate your lot into 2 lots or 3 lots or whatever, or for 2 homes or 3 homes. If they're not options, what else is there in order to be able to use, in order to be able to subdivide land?
Oh, that's very hard, because it used to be very easy. You could drill one well and then you could give water to all the subdivisions. But they changed the law, and now you can only drill the well for your own property. And if you subdivide it, you can only give water to one of the sons of the properties.
Wow.
If you understand. So with water concession from creeks or rivers, is more simple, but every individual lot must ask for their own water concession. That is the problem. So in the end, the most easy should be condominium, because after you went through all the specifics and you got your well from your condominium, from that well you're able to give water for each of the single properties, and that will be no problem. The problem is the getting there.
Well,
but yeah, for example, parcelas agrícolas or agriculture parcels or individual lots, they should go for their own water if there is no aqueduct. That means artisanal wells or water concessions.
But let's say I've got 30,000 square meters, okay? I've got 3 hectares, 30,000 square meters, which is what, 7.2 acres, say. And I want to split it up into 1.2 acre lots. I want 6 1.2 acre lots. Okay. Of 5,000 square meters. Sorry, guys, that I'm jumping here between hectares to acres to square meters here, but 5,000 square meters, 1.2 is to 1.2 acres. If I have 7.2 acres and I want to chop it up, into 6 1.2 acre lots, and I don't have an ASADA or AIA, like how would I go about that? Because I can't just segregate land. Like I also have to give the water letter, right? Like there needs to be some form of water letter in order for me to be able to register it with the municipality. With the Registro Nacional, easy, but the municipality is going to go, where's your legal water source?
Yes, yes, exactly. And there is where the problem comes. Now you cannot use one single well to give water to all those. If we were a condominium, then fine. But if not, then you should have an individual solution for each lot.
Well,
Or if you can get another project, make your own ASADA, your own rural aqueduct for the system.
and the
That's a
AIA
big one.
doesn't want you to have more ASADAs, right?
Yeah,
So it's kind of
exactly.
a catch-22 with, yeah.
No, this is the big problem in Costa Rica. We have a lot of water. We are in the tropics. We rain so much, but the management of the water, the engineers, and the bureaucracy of the government has been taken that there are no good aqueducts in the rural areas. There is no good services for potability water. I mean, if you come to the city, mostly you will be able to find your water barely easy, but it's still, yeah, there you have some problems even building here in Costa Rica, in San
Yep.
Jose, I mean, in Heredia. There is a deficiency in getting the supply, the amount of water that the developing Costa Rica needs. Mm,
Yeah, I agree. At some point, dude, I want to have my own ASADA. Like I want to like help an ASADA, develop an ASADA, like etc. Just because I'm interested in knowing more about it. Like I've worked with a bunch of ASADAs, I've made investments, I've done, hydro engineers have done studies in order for me to be able to get water and that stuff. But it would just be great to
mm,
be like to take because again, ASADAs, their development is very slow because we don't pay that much for water here. So, like, I'm going to take Grande, for instance, because that's a great one. Like, the Grande Asada is not giving out water letters because they don't have enough water. But also, is they don't have enough money to invest in it because people aren't paying that much money for water anyway. So when it comes to
yeah.
like, hey, dudes, we need to drill more wells, the Asada doesn't have the money. So it has to wait for private investors potentially to come along to drill the wells and then donate it to the Asada.
Yeah, yeah, I know it's horrific. It's a nightmare because the best solution will be to have your project, your segregation into the asada, into the
Correct.
community, and together develop the aqueduct and also the schools and the society and make it better. But the bureaucracy is just like tearing us down apart.
Yeah.
The developers in one side and community in the other side, and it's very hard to match with the institutions. And yeah, it's very problematic. I'm so sorry that Costa Rica goes that way, but it is.
I mean, look, the beauty of it is it stops, Costa Rica developing like crazy, Jorge. Like,
Mm,
so it's like a natural filter. But let's switch gears a little bit. I think we've covered water a little bit, but let's just jump into technology. I mean, it's amazing how drone technology and like, laser ground penetration, from satellites, et cetera, is starting to be used. What
yeah.
technology are you starting to use to make your job, easier and like in order to be able to show your clients a little better, kind of what's going on as well?
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. It's very special because we have to look at the landscape, but we only can look it from the atmosphere, from the earth, from our eyes in like an eagle view, but we need to see under the earth to get the groundwater. I mean, we can see the superficial water that drains through the rivers and the creeks, but we cannot see the groundwater. So we have to do a complement of those two technologies. The one that can see and observe the earth from the space, like as you say, the interferometry. That's a radar system that is the emissions to the earth and then go back by microwaves and can penetrate the clouds, can work at night, and then it will give you a bit of underground, but also will give you the landscape, the mountains and the rivers, the topography. So we have to look at that. We use several technologies. We can use, for example, photogrammetry. That it uses pictures. So with a drone, we can take pictures from the air, and then we look at the canopy of the trees and then the soil. Just like in this picture right back behind, you can see some trees, and they are colorized by the elevation. Um, But there is also a laser scan. This laser scanner is called LiDAR, and then LiDAR can also be put into the drones, and then we use that drone, and it shoots about 1,000 beams, light beams per second per square meter.
Wow.
So some of the beams will hit on the canopy tree in the top, but some of those will go through the leaves and even hit into the bare ground. So we can tell the computer eliminate all the vegetation, all the first returns, and give us only the last returns from the bare earth. And then it erases the vegetation, and we can see only the terrain, the elevation model, just like in Discovery Channel where they find out about the Mayas and the
Yep.
Aztecas, or like in Egypt. We are doing that technology in Costa Rica. It's already available, and it's actually very cheap. I mean, compared to going with topographers and a whole team of people getting bitten by snakes and bees and lasting about 2 weeks of work. Now we can do it in 3 days, 4 days, just with the drone flying. We're having amazing computer systems to post-process that, and then we could do that. But that's also the surface, yeah.
Yep.
And now we have to go through the layers of the soil and the earth, through the geological layers, to see where the water is located, where the aquifers are, and therefore we use other technologies that are called geophysical technologies. And this geophysical emits either seismic waves, electromagnetic waves, or electric waves, for example, and it will go down into the ground like 100 meters, 200 meters deep, and then will come up, and we will measure those numbers and transform it into the images of layers. For example, 5 meters of soil layer, and then underground there is volcanic ash for 20 meters, and then up down to 100 meters volcanic rock, hard rock, and we will be able to see those in a different detail resolution according to the geophysical equipment we use. So yeah, technology has come.
But can you could use that to figure out if there's water in the ground?
Yes. Well, it's also non-invasive. So all these are alternative ways of seeing the water. We don't actually see the water, but we do the difference of the resistance of the layers of the rocks. For example, if we have one rock, a layer of rocks that are very conductive with electricity, and then down under is a very hard rock, then we will imagine that in that soft rock will be the water layer, the water aquifer will be, getting there and not going into the hard rock. So these are not direct measurements. The direct measurement should be to drill the first borehole, the
Okay.
first well. Until there, we see all these others are just secondary arts of looking at the groundwater or superficial water.
Well, it's just about, look, again, if someone's buying land, about de-risking it as much as you can, because again, maybe this stuff can help you de-risk the project a little bit further. You can look at other wells in the area, you can look at rainfall in the area. Like, yeah, it's just, I always say to people like, look, if this is your first go in Costa Rica, don't buy land that doesn't have like a legal water source, man. Don't buy something that doesn't have a concession or an ASAD or an AIA, because like you could get creamed. I mean, you could buy a piece of land for $500,000 and then realize you can't build on it, or you have no water.
Yes.
And that happens all the time. I mean, I've seen people buy land and then be like, "Hey, Rich, can you help me?" And I look at it and I go, "Guys, like there aren't any options for you, unfortunately. Like, you're in Guanacaste on a flat bit of land. There's no river. Like, you can dig an artisanal well, but like it's probably going to be dry for 3-4 months of the year. Like, there was something that I looked at a while back, actually with one of the clients, which was taking the vapor out of the air, if that made sense. And then, but I don't even think Costa Rica's doing that, are they?
No, I haven't seen. I've seen in the deserts,
Yeah.
but not in Costa Rica.
But that would be an interesting one. Again, if I want to push a rock up a hill, that would be an interesting one to explore on another project. But
Yeah.
I mean, look, Jorge, this has been great, man. I mean, it's great to get your knowledge. And I know that like you can go down a rabbit hole on this stuff and it's very complicated. And I think anyone buying land or developing should definitely have a chat with you. But my last question for you, Jorge, which I'd love to ask is, if you inherited $500,000 and you had to invest it into a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you invest it in and why?
Oh, thank you. Well, I would invest it in land, and probably in Osa Peninsula, where it's more relaxed, more tropical, more rain. There's no such a lack of water like in the north in Guanacaste. The development has not gone so crazy. It's more ecological, more like I would say Costa Rican style. I like to say that word, but I mean, Costa Rica has many styles. But I like the way things work in the south. Um, and probably just not got so big, just one or two small lots, and started building one house, one single house with a small pool. At the first step, maybe a second one later, and of course invest in my business, more equipment, more technology, more lasers, more radars, more scanners to try to be more accurate in our work and try to minimize that risk of not really in a dry well. That's
Awesome.
our goal.
Well, Jorge, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for sharing your time and also your knowledge with us. Anyone that wants to get in contact with Jorge, all of his contact details are in the description down below. But very much appreciate your time, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No worries. Catch you later.
Pura vida. Ciao.
Water is definitely complicated in Costa Rica, as you guys can see there. I mean, I found, ways. I mean, I had an offline conversation there with Jorge after about collecting of rainwater, and he was like, "Wow, Rich, I didn't even know you could do that. You're teaching me stuff here." And there's vapor out of the air here. Maybe I'll push a boulder up a hill one day and see if I can get that. But there's just so much water in this country, and there are so many different ways to get it. I would say if it's your first attempt, guys, just be really careful when doing that stuff and make sure you've got a great team. And when I say great team, it's not a realtor, no offense. It's like you need a hydrologist, you need a great topographer, etc. But if you're going concessions, get a hydrologist. Don't go anywhere else. Or, reach out to us. We can help you kind of, we're not hydrologists, but we can help you kind of really understand your options and then bring in hydrologists when needed. But, it just gets very, very risky. And if you're going to make that investment, it's better. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish in Costa Rica, guys. And I would say that just in general. Don't be penny wise and pound foolish in Costa Rica because it will bite you in the butt. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that podcast with Jorge. Just a wealth of information there, guys. I could go down the rabbit hole with him on stuff and just learn. But, I just love to learn on that stuff. But anyway, if you're looking to do anything here in Costa Rica, guys, do remember you can reach out to us. We do have investment and kind of real estate services here, as well as project management as well. We project manage, I'd say probably around about 30 projects throughout Costa Rica. Have engineers and project managers here in the office. Our idea when we first started this was just to listen to our clients and for them to dictate to us what it is that the services that they really need and provide those services, so that we do continue to do that. I would say within a bit of a laser focus, as much laser focus as we can. But again, we always say that if we don't know it, we'll find out or refer you to someone that can. But you can reach out to us. Again, no obligation, guys. We're happy to have a chat. info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. If you're enjoying this podcast, guys, again, a lot of time and effort goes into this. So please hit the subscribe button or hit like, write us a review. I think on Apple, you can write a review. I don't think on Spotify you can, but you can hit the subscribe button. You can also give us a 5 stars, but very much appreciate everyone's support. And again, if there's anything you want us to discuss or a topic you want us to cover, let us know. Or anyone you think we should get on the podcast, guys. I mean, we'll talk to anyone here. We try to kind of limit the realtors so that it doesn't get overtaken by real estate. But we'll have anyone on the show. So feel free to reach out to us again, info@investingcostarica.com. But until the next podcast, guys, thanks very much for your support and we'll see you later. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.